Yes, they can clinch. We'll get to that tonight. Later tonight, they will need some help with that. When it comes to weather right now, it's not raining.
News for you, Lindsay. We'll keep an eye on the weather. It looks like the storms, fingers crossed, will stay north of Cincinnati. Tonight's injury report is brought to you by TyTech Medical, compact pre-hospital medical supplies for trauma care. For more information, visit tytechmedical.com, and it's pretty easy right now. Just a knee sprain for Jamie Dell. So FC Cincinnati is healthy. They are home in their traditional blue home kits with white and orange on the front. And they will work left to right here in the first half. The Rhinos wearing yellow jerseys with green shorts and yellow socks here on the road. This is the second meeting this season between the two teams. They met back on July 6th at Rochester Rhino Stadium, and Rochester won that match by a score of 2-1. Saw the ball coming in towards Omar Cummings. He'll play in a traditional striker spot here tonight. If you missed our open, Sean Okolie's not available after picking up his 5th yellow card. He will, however, be available here in the booth and join us coming up at halftime. Ball's going to be swung into the box by Rochester. Headed back towards the outside of the 18 and then cleared by Tyler Pollock. Over to the left side, Fuo, Bradley Fuo. Turned into the box, then a shot and a save by Mitch Hildebrand. Quickly came off the foot of Conardo Forbes, the midfielder from Jamaica, as the ball skipped out, and Mitch had to react quickly, Kevin.
Yeah, no, good early save from Mitch. Had to stay on his toes. Had that covered ball into the top corner, so he does well. He was in a good starting position to see it over.
So in the second minute, Rochester will get a corner kick. This corner kick is brought to you by the Levy Law Offices, where they turn your crash into cash. It'll come from the near side, sent into the box, headed right back towards the corner by Austin Berry. And Rochester will get another look at it. 2 quick corner kicks.
Just on this corner, which I'm not sure you're going to be able to see it in the screen, but they're leaving 2 forwards with FC Cincinnati. So obviously, they're going to try to break and hit on the counter if they can.
Forbes will send it again, headed right towards Mitch Hildebrand, and a foul was called in the box before the ball was even headed toward Hildebrand. Rochester picks up the foul, and FC Cincinnati will be able to turn it the other way.
And just talking, finishing that thought there, I think that's an intent of John, is to try to hit them quickly, defensively as soon as they lose it, to try to press as well. But, having that outlet is going to be very important tonight.
Corbin Bone lost it in the midfield. Paul Nicholson in at center back in this new formation, the 3-5-2, turns and gets it up to Pat McMahon. No surprise to see McMahon and Pollock pushing up. When they traditionally start in their fullback position, they play way up the touchline, so it's not an unfamiliar situation for them.
Yeah, no, the starting positions for them, they're in a higher position. Where it really just changes, as I said, is the midfield 3 trying to protect. And with Paul playing in the middle, he's obviously probably a central midfield-minded player. His distribution is going to be key for FC Cincinnati tonight.
14th start of the season for Paul Nicholson, who stepped into the starting 11 for John Harkes following the early season injury to Austin Berry. Now with Berry back, Harkes wants to see them both in the starting lineup. Nicholson healthy, Berry healthy, and tonight he has them on the field together. Pat McMahon has it roll off his right foot right along the touchline, and a quick throw in for Fuo in Rochester.
Yeah, I think John had definitely some difficult decisions this week to make with the starting lineup. But having, Paul and Kenny Walker back in the starting lineup is very, very important. I think they've been very consistent this season.
Meanwhile, Omar Cummings was cut down right at the corner of the 18. Would have been a dangerous spot for a free kick for FC Cincinnati, and no foul was called here.
Yeah, I think the defender actually times it well, They do have a rule in tackling from behind. I think from that it's more to the side, and he got a ball on that tackle, I think.
Leland Grant, our match official, as we are in the 4th minute, scoreless in the second meeting this season between these two teams. Harrison Delbridge picks it up and sends it into the midfield. Rochester pushing towards the offensive third. Good defense from Delbridge. He'll turn it around, and he tried to feed it to Mitch Hildebrand right on his feet, but a bit too strong. Hildebrand unable to collect, and a corner kick will come from the far side. It is brought to you by the Levy Law Offices.
Rochester, they're going to test FC Cincinnati tonight. They're probably going to look to play in their 4-5-1, but that can transition depending on triggers as well that the coach has probably set up to press really in a 4-3-3. So you'll see that just from that play. They're going to make it hard for FC Cincinnati to try to play out of the back at times.
Forbes, the Jamaican, will take the corner. Took the other two moments ago. Headed it towards the 6-yard box and headed out over Mitch Hildebrand and towards the Bailey. Tonight's Keys to the Match are presented by Toyota. For all Toyota offers, visit Toyota's official website for deals at buyatoyota.com. And what do you have tonight, Kevin?
I think pressing, is going to be very big going into this 3-5-2. It shows the intent of John. He wants to put Rochester's back four under pressure and squeeze them if he can to try to get possession back. So you'll see in the attacking third tonight, he's going to send numbers and try to make it very hard for them. The second thing, really, as I talked about in that 4-5-1, is counterattack. You'll see Rochester attack from defensively in a 4-5-1 into a 4-3-3. So I think being kind of aware of that and making sure that they've got defensive responsibilities keyed down is going to be very important.
Rochester holding in the midfield, turned forward by Forbes. Onto the far side of the pitch, and it rolls off of the leg of Michael Gilavogi, a midfielder out of Guinea. And that'll give FC Cincinnati a throw-in on the far side of the pitch. Harrison Delbridge will come over to take it. Normally a spot that you see Tyler Pollock taking the throw-ins, but as he's playing forward in more of a midfield position, he'll stay forward to try to receive that throw-in.
Just what I thought, and it's strange to see a center-back taking a throw-in, but in this system, when they've got 3 central defenders, you can kind of allow one to push over and take that responsibility over from Tyler.
Rhino's able to pick it back up in the midfield. Steven Dos Santos, the talented forward out of Cape Verde, has 5 goals on the season. He was in your key matchup alongside Corbin Bone for FC Cincinnati. It's turned all the way back to the goalkeeper, Tomas Gomez, a 6'2" native of Mexico. Gomez making his 12th appearance of the season. Gomez and Adam Grinwis have really split time this season in goal for Rochester.
Another key player for Rochester is going to be Forbes, number 11. He's kind of their 6th, their defensive center midfielder, but a lot of attacks going to get started through him. So, Wiedemann's going to have kind of got to be aware of him as well to kind of stop that if he can, to try to deny them any type of penetrating passes through.
You mentioned Andrew Wiedemann there. He's playing in a midfield position so that he can get in behind Omar Cummings and provide help in that regards.
Yeah, Omar's going to be the highest player, and you can kind of see it now. It's layered. You've got Jimmy and Andre Wiedemann underneath. So they're going to work on timing, where Omar kind of checks back into the space, then opens up space behind for Jimmy to get in behind, or Andre Wiedemann to get in behind.
Throw in for FC Cincinnati in the offensive third. Pat McMahon will take it. Of course, Pat McMahon was on Rochester's team last year, a team that won the USL Championship, knocking off LA Galaxy 2 in the league title game. McMahon trying to fire it in the box, turned away by Fuo, and will immediately throw it right back into play. Man spent the last 2 years with Rochester, making 41 appearances. Rochester 10-5-9 on the season, currently in 6th place, but there's a log jam from 3rd to 7th place in the Eastern Conference. And one team stumbles, everything could change in a hurry. Cummings going for a header in the box, couldn't get there. Well defended by Rochester. Now Pollock able to track it down in the corner. Corbin Bone unable to pick it up, and it will go out along the end line. Rochester couldn't collect. Corner kick, first one of the night coming up for FC Cincinnati.
You talked about how tight the league is. Rochester, they've got everything to play for. I think out of their last 11 games, they're unbeaten. So the last time they played FC Cincinnati, they got the win as well. So that's going to be important. They're a team that can get results, obviously. So transition is going to be very, very important tonight for FC Cincinnati.
The corner kick from Corbin Bone is punched away, and then Wiedemann from about 35 yards away launched it, and it went up over the goal. No trouble for Gomez. Unbeaten in 11 of their last 12. They did have a loss in that 12-game streak to Richmond, who at a point there was one of the hottest teams in the league. They had 6 straight wins as Richmond just shot up the Eastern Conference standings. So you talk about how wild things are right now. Unbeaten 11 of their last 12 is Rochester, 5-1-6 during that stretch. So for Rochester, if they can get a result, get a win on the road today, that is huge for them. For FC Cincinnati, they're trying to track down Louisville, who currently is in that 2 seed in the East, 5 points behind, but 2 games in hand. And Louisville really has struggled since their loss back on July 23rd, 1 month ago at Nippert Stadium. Restart coming for Rochester in the midfield. Forbes will take it here in the 10th minute. Sails over the head of Austin Berry, who wisely did not head it. And it'll be a goal kick coming up for Mitch Hildebrand. Coming into this match, 4 FC Cincinnati starters had started all 22 USL games this season. 3 of them have started today. That's Jimmy McLaughlin, Corbin Bone, and Mitch Hildebrand. Of course, Sean Okoli had started every USL match this season. He is out with his yellow card accumulation tonight.
That certainly brought about consistency. You know, I talked to John about that, and for me, that's been the most impressive thing for a first-year team to be that consistent in its first year. They've had a couple of injuries, you know, but they've had that break. So those guys with Paul and Kenny coming back would certainly gives them a deep squad. And you might see, you know, tonight as well, you might see a different rotation. You know, some of those other guys that have been playing, Jimmy McLaughlin, Wiedemann, they've been playing a lot. They might need a little bit extra rest too. So something to look out for as the game goes on.
Well, and a quick turnaround coming for FC Cincinnati as they will meet New York Red Bulls 2 on Sunday, late afternoon at 5:45 start. Long ball for Dos Santos, and he shoots it just wide. Mitch Hildebrand didn't dive, and maybe about 12 inches wide of the far post from Hildebrand as we remain scoreless in the 12th minute.
That's the counter-attack that we're talking about. You know, they've got to be sharp and kind of pick that up quickly. I think it's a long ball forward. He gets in, doesn't hit it cleanly. Again, I think Mitch has, you know, good position on it. But FC Cincinnati have to stay on their toes.
And Kevin, you're talking about the consistency of the club, and obviously Austin Berry's injury was the most significant. Paul Nicholson stepped in a fantastic way as a throw-in coming for the orange and blue. You had Kenny Walker go out, who had been very consistent, playing more as a defensive midfielder for FC Cincinnati. He went out, and there was a lot of question marks of how would this team fill in. Paul Nicholson took a knock during that stretch, so they had a couple guys banged up, didn't really miss a beat, and that certainly was a good sign of the way this team is built.
Oh, it shows character, you know, not only from a quality standpoint of players being able to fit into different roles, but just mentally being able to accept those challenges. You know, I think that's a huge part of a winning team. Austin as well, you know, we talk about a break. I think the break for him has probably helped too. You know, he came back and kind of got thrown in at the deep end with the other resulting injuries. So I think the time off probably helped Austin Berry. And again, a veteran player will certainly be very important as they go through the stretch.
G. Lavogi unable to haul it in along the touchline, throwing for Tyler Pollock. Haven't seen a great scoring opportunity yet for FC Cincinnati. Rochester's had a few opportunities there. Mitch was challenged very early, had to make a save.
I think the biggest thing really is you know, the back three kind of figuring out how to distribute. You know, it's a different starting position. You know, if you're playing 4 back, you're kind of splitting your 2 center backs, and your full backs are pushed higher. So for me, it's been kind of an indecisive decision from our back three trying to play into the middle third, and from there supporting kind of the midfield players.
Foul's going to be called about 8 yards outside of the 18-yard box, and a dangerous free kick coming up here for FC Cincinnati. Bernardo Forbes.
Tyler just gets clipped. He has good body position on him. He's kind of protecting the ball. And Forbes just, overcommits a little bit.
Caught the right foot of Tyler Pollock. Wiedemann and Corbin Bone standing over the ball right now. Of course, Andrew Wiedemann scored on a set piece to tie the game at Richmond and get a point for FC Cincinnati. He's going to walk away now, and Bone will take it into the box. Delbridge trying to get his head on it. Does not, and instead Harrison Delbridge will be called for a foul as he got tangled up right there in the 6-yard box.
Good delivery into the back post. I think Corbin plays it, flights it in. Obviously Harrison's the target. Maybe used his elbow a little bit for leverage to push down.
Wall fall, and Delbridge getting tangled up. If you didn't recognize Corbin Bone, a little bit of a hairstyle change for the FC Cincinnati midfielder.
I thought we weren't going there.
We're going there. It doesn't matter whether or not we're going there in the first half, but he got the free kick, so it seems like it's an appropriate time to go there. A new hair color for Corbin Bone, as well as teammate Ross Tomaselli. So just leave it at that. It is Corbin Bone in 19 out there.
Could be based on the new Messi style.
Pat McMahon working his way up the touchline. Good job picking it up in the midfield. Now staying with it. Wallfall comes in defensively. And then Wallfall will let it walk out along the end line. Let's go down to the pitch and check in with the third member of our broadcast team, Lindsey Patterson.
Guys, we've hit on it already. Being without top scorer Sean Okole. I talked to some of the guys. With missing him tonight, they said, hey, it's tough being without your leading scorer, but we've got a good balance in attack. We have other guys stepping up. Jimmy, Andrew, Omar Cummings. They're all going to have to make big plays out here. They might even need some help like Spencer Muhammad to step up off the bench too.
Certainly the guys in the starting lineup, Wiedemann, Cummings, McLaughlin, all have found the goal multiple times this season. I mentioned Wiedemann had the goal at Richmond. It was his 5th of the year, and one change in the 18 of interest for the first time this year in a USL match. John Harkes has inserted Alvaro Anton Ripoll, a midfielder out of Madrid, Spain, a youngster on this club, just 22 years old, but someone who's been working. And John Harkes rewards guys. If you have a good week of training, if you have the right attitude when you take the pitch every day at practice, and there's a spot for you in the 18, you're going to be in the 18.
I think the biggest thing that John said is he looks clinical, you know.
Right.
He's kind of got that cutthroat approach in training, and he's been finishing. So, especially at this stage of the season, he's going to look for a threat. And if Alvaro's been kind of performing in training, then he's going to give him the chance.
Absolutely. So he's somebody that maybe John Harkes could go to in the second half. Eric Stevenson dropped from the 11, but still in the 18. That's a great talent to have to come in the second half if needed as well. Harrison Delbridge turning it out into the midfield. Omar Cummings can't get to it, but it's headed out, and a throw-in coming for FC Cincinnati.
I think one adjustment in the attack too will be Jimmy. You know, Jimmy's played in wide positions all season long, really. So having kind of a central starting position, I mean, I think he could play as a good attacking midfielder, but as that second forward is going to be something different for him to adapt to.
Get into the game through the USL's social media channels. Follow the USL on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for news, live game updates, and video highlights from across the league. We mentioned Andrew Wiedemann playing up the middle. The season started with Wiedemann playing wide so often, but John Harkes has been really happy with his play up the middle as the ball is sent in his direction, trying to get to it. Gomez steps up, but what have you seen that's changed in his style?
I think he's always had the skill, you know, the starting position coming from a wide into that attacking midfield. You know, he's you know, he does well kind of receiving it and driving at defenders. He does well kind of trying to find holes and gaps to penetrate through. So he's got skill, plus he's got vision. And I think being in a central position, you can affect the game a lot more by doing that.
Rochester will get a throw in far side of the pitch. 18th minute scoreless between these two clubs as they battle. Maybe if this was the start of the playoffs tonight, this is the way the playoffs would stack up. It would be FC Cincinnati hosting Rochester if the playoffs started tonight. Of course, that's not the case. After tonight, FC Cincinnati still 7 games remaining on the schedule. Only 2 of those will be here at Nippert Stadium. Fuo pulling it towards the corner. Now backs it off to Turgu. Turgu swinging it into the box. Tyler Pollock heads it, but it rolls off the back of his head along the end line. And a corner kick brought to you by the Levy Law Offices coming up for Rochester, and they take it very quickly.
Got to stay switched on here with these short set pieces.
Shot from the right side, turned away by Harrison Delbridge, cleared by Kenny Walker. Out into the midfield, and FC Cincinnati wastes no time trying to push it forward. Fuo turns as he has pressure coming from Cummings. Sends it into his own bench. Pat McMahon will set to throw it in. 10 returning players on this Rochester Rhinos roster from last year when they won the USL Championship. So Pat, plenty of friends in yellow and green tonight. Throw in right onto the foot of Big Cat. Cummings double teamed and it's taken off his foot by Wallfall, the native of Frankfurt, Germany. Played forward into the 18, and Mitch Hildebrand wisely comes off his line to scoop it up.
He does well. I think Harrison maybe got out of position a little bit. Just on that transition, the back three have got to read, you know, if it's going to be a through pass or not. So their first reaction has to be dropping back. It can't be stepping forward, I think. Just on that last play, Harrison took his first step maybe forward.
Michael Gilavogi was trying to get there. Hildebrand had other plans. Rochester trying to keep it alive. In the offensive third, headed away by Austin Berry into the Bailey, and another corner kick coming up for the Rhinos. And again, a quick corner. right onto the foot of Forbes. Sent into the box. Hildebrand has it slip through his hands. Nicholson there to clear it.
I think the biggest thing right now for FC Cincinnati is improving possession. You know, I've not seen more than kind of 3 or 4 passes strung together. We're 20 minutes in. So, you know, anytime that you want to play attacking style soccer, you've got to have the ball.
Rochester was trying to put it back into play very quickly. Mitch Hildebrand was slow to his feet. So Leland Grant slowed things down. Instructed the Rhinos to hold off on their throw-in. Now Hildebrand appears to be okay. He has played every league minute this year for John Harkes. Has been fantastic, saving 75% of the shots that have headed his way. Goals against average under 1.
Yeah, we talked this week about most consistent players. I think him and probably Jimmy McLaughlin, for me at least, have been kind of the most consistent players throughout the season.
Certainly could argue Corbin Bone, who had a great month of July as FC Cincinnati played 5 matches here at home. Leland Grant, again, not happy with the pace at which the ball was put back into play. FC Cincinnati, I think this is their 3rd try to restart following that foul when Corbin Bone was cut down.
Yeah, I think with Corbin especially, as soon as he kind of got switched from the 10 role into that defensive center midfield role, the number 6, he's been able to impact the game a lot more too. You know, he's dropping back, he's getting it. That's where he wants it. He wants to be on the ball as much as possible.
Delbridge plays it to the top of the 18. It skips past Omar Cummings, who is trying to get there. Gomez will come up and grab it, wearing all red today. In goal for the Rhinos. He played all 90 minutes, made 3 saves in the win against FC Cincinnati back on July 6th.
I have been impressed with Rochester's defensive shape. You know, they've been very compact. We talked about lack of possession for FC Cincinnati. It's one of the reasons there's not a lot of space in between the lines.
Jimmy McLaughlin is fouled hard right in front of John Harkes. Canardo Forbes got into him. McLaughlin is slow to his feet, and Leland Grant is going to reach to his pocket. A yellow card coming for Forbes.
Yeah, that's that tackle that I talked about from behind, you know, where there's no intent. So yeah, that's definitely a yellow card.
So Canardo Forbes picks up his 3rd yellow card of the season, much to the chagrin of his teammates and Steven Dos Santos, who is pleading his case right now. The entire FC Cincinnati bench jumped up as Jimmy was taken down. He appears to be okay, and Kenny Walker will bring it back into play. Sends it into the chest of Cummings, immediately disrupted by Joseph Farrell. Delbridge regains possession in the midfield. Tried to skip it forward for Pollock, couldn't connect. Kenny Walker does a great job with the back heel, saving it off the far touchline.
You can see as this play is moving, you know, how disciplined Rochester are as they shift from side to side. I mean, they're keeping it very, very compact, and it's tough to kind of break that line down. It's going to be very interesting if Kenny can kind of get a little bit higher and switch that role with Andrew Wiedemann. They kind of bring out that central defensive player, central defensive midfield player. Then space might open up.
Good look there for Wiedemann as he connected on the header, but just couldn't curl it enough in the direction of Gomez.
Good early ball in, you know, changes his approach, his entrance pass. Good run from Andrew Wiedemann.
What's important to remember, too, you were talking about Kenny Walker.
Yeah.
He's very much an offensive threat. If he is pushing forward, he has 1 goal on the year, but he has a pretty shot. And when he gets it and puts it on frame, it's going to be trouble for any goalkeeper in this league.
Yeah, I think you're going to see, you know, just what I talked about with how compact they are. They're going to have to, you know, not press as much. They're going to have to be very, very patient in their build-up and just kind of wait for the right time. The second thing, if they can do this as well, if they can hit Rochester on the counter-attack as well when their, you know, their defensive shape is kind of disrupted, then they'll find some gaps to attack.
Hildebrand scoops it up inside the 18. Send it out for Delbridge, now into the middle. Here comes the distribution forward across midfield from Nicholson. Headed away by Pat McMahon, ends up going out along the touchline, but a great pass to get it to Pat.
Yeah. I think Paul reads their press there too. As I said, very impressed with Rochester. Compact, and they're sending players forward to kind of press on the trigger.
McMahon looking for Cummings, sends it there. Rochester able to recollect. Midway through the first half, we are scoreless at Nippert Stadium. Rhinos and FC Cincinnati knocking it around the midfield. Rochester unable to pick it up with Fuo on the touchline right in front of Harks, so McMahon will come over and throw it in. Mentioned Canardo Forbes a few times, the midfielder out of Jamaica wearing number 11 in yellow. He made 3 appearances for the Jamaican national team in 2010. His teammate on the Jamaican national team in 2010, number 14 in blue, Omar Cummings. So they were Jamaican national team teammates. Of course, Omar had a great run with Jamaica's national team. Ball played forward for Tyler Pollock, a bit wide, and a throw incoming for Rochester. Nike is a proud partner of the USL. Follow at Nike Soccer on Twitter for all the latest Nike soccer information. Tom Gladder alongside Kevin McCloskey high above the pitch here at Nippert Stadium. Lindsey Patterson down on the field. David Ashbrock in the truck. Happy to be back with you at Nippert Stadium after what feels like an eternity. It's really only been 25 days,
yeah.
But after we all did 5 games together across the month of July, 25 days seems like a long time to go without a home broadcast here in Cincinnati.
I can tell you miss me, Tommy.
I did. I mean, we got to see each other training yesterday, then reunited again tonight here in the booth. Austin Berry has his run disrupted. Rolls out and the throw-in coming for McMahon. Nicholson over to Delbridge. Delbridge missed the match at Montreal as he set out for yellow card accumulation. Picked up his 5th against Charleston back on July 30th. Cummings over to Kenny Walker. Walker into the box. I think he was looking for Wiedemann there, and it's split both Wiedemann and Cummings. However, it caught one of the Rhinos and a corner kick coming for the orange and blue. Yeah,
you've seen the difference now in the entrance passes from the back 3. I think the last 3 kind of attempted passes have been in behind, kind of a longer ball over the top. They try to break, obviously if they're going to be compact and sitting in front, it's tough. So they're going to try to turn them a little bit and attack that space in behind.
Bone on the far side in the corner will go short to Pollock. Pollock with his left foot into the box. Berry puts his head on it and puts it into the net. A goal for Austin Berry. His 3rd this season at Nippert Stadium. Scored in the first 2 games at home this year, and back on the board, the Cincinnati kid.
He showed already this season he's good in the air, good aerial presence, good ball in, times his jump well, and obviously gets over the top of the defender into the bottom corner, so great finish.
Tyler Pollock with the assist, his 2nd of the year and the 3rd goal on the season for Austin Berry. They've all been headers, I believe.
Yeah. And just on that occasion too, he knows how to use his body. He's kind of leaning in, this is legal with his chest, and creating a little bit of separation just to get up and get his head on that ball. So good technique.
So the header for Austin Berry gives FC Cincinnati a first half lead. And now one of the FC Cincinnati players cramping up a little bit. Out at midfield, and the match official is going to call the training staff out. It's Tyler Pollock rubbing his right thigh after sending in that pass. Of course, he is left-footed.
Might have got a late hit. Probably, if it's his right, probably a standing leg. Maybe got a knock as he put it in.
So give John Harks a chance to huddle up with his team following that goal by Austin Berry. He'll call everybody else over. Berry will go over to check on Pollock. As Aaron Powell, the athletic trainer for FC Cincinnati, checks in on the starting midfielder for the orange and blue. John Harks had to make a change here. It would probably be Derek Luke, the defender, although because Tyler's playing forward in the midfield today. Maybe some different options there.
Yeah, that's more, it's a wing back position, really. So it really just depends on the instruction that John's given, the wide players of Pat and Tyler, but he may look to bring on an attacking player too.
I'm going to take one look here on the pass.
Yeah, it could be non-related, honestly, to that play. It could be just cramp as well.
So Tyler's going to head over towards the bench. He'll chat with John Harkes, and he just has to come to midfield, and then he'll get a chance to check back in. So Tyler Pollock is okay. Play was never restarted following the goal because he went down as FC Cincinnati was trying to get back into position. But Austin Berry, in the meantime, has given FC Cincinnati the lead here at home. Had the game winner back on April 9th in the first ever professional soccer match here at Nippert Stadium. Had a goal against Louisville City a week later on April 16th, and now his third of the season, all in his hometown. John Harkes told us yesterday at training he thought it was really important to get that first goal tonight, and they tally it here.
Yeah.
FC Cincinnati is brought to you in part by Volkswagen. Rochester trying to keep it in along the touchline. Clearly skips out. I give Fuo a good job, good effort there for trying to keep playing that ball forward, even though it had skipped at least a bounce or two outside of the touchline. He said he would keep running until he heard the whistle.
That's what your coach did today.
Yep.
Play to the whistle.
So the throw-in coming for FC Cincinnati, and Austin Berry will bring it back into play. Brilliant weather for training the last few days for FC Cincinnati, and then today the humidity came up a little bit. A little bit of gray clouds, but still expecting a crowd of around 12 or 13,000 here in the Queen City. 13th consecutive USL game over 10,000. They announced 10,000 tickets were out yesterday, I believe. So the show continues here for the faithful fans of FC Cincinnati.
I think more fans have come in actually as the game started too.
No
as
doubt.
Went on.
Tough on a work night, Wednesday evening. To get out of work, get settled, get changed, get over here to the game, unless you wore your orange and blue to work, which is fine.
Yep.
Throw in deep in the offensive third for Rochester. Into the box. Mitch Hildebrandt came out to play it. Christian Valesky, haven't said his name much, turned on it and launched it up towards the Bailey. It'll be a goal kick for Hildebrandt, who didn't touch it. Valesky leads the team in goals with 8 so far this year. Valesky got it in off his chest.
That could have been a lot more dangerous, honestly.
Right. Hildebrandt was coming out to put the pressure on as he saw nobody else there checking Valesky.
Yeah.
Goal kick for Mitch. Out across midfield. Cummings gets his head on it. And then Rochester unable to clear. Throw in for Austin Berry. Quickly into the chest of Bone. McMahon will give it back to Corbin. Corbin towards the corner. Can't hold on to it, skips off his foot.
Better to see Corbin a lot more active, involved. I think the next player really to get into the game is Kenny Walker then, same thing. If he can get on the ball and start driving forward a little bit more, create some more opportunities.
Gilavogi picked it up in the midfield for the Rhinos. Rochester trying to turn it back to the offensive third. Wall Fall. Fall onto his right, Turgu. Forward onto the foot of Fuo. Fuo with good defense from Pat McMahon has to turn it back to Fall. Into the box. Turgu had it on his foot, couldn't get off a clean shot. He had some space to work with. And FC Cincinnati turned it away. And now Fall back into the box, but it skips way wide of the goal, and a goal kick coming up for Hildebrandt. Now into the 35th minute with FC Cincinnati on top 1-0 here at home. With a win tonight, FC Cincinnati can inch a little bit closer to a playoff spot. They need Harrisburg in their next game to draw or lose, plus a win tonight for FC Cincinnati, and that will clinch a playoff spot for the men in orange and blue in their first year as a professional franchise.
Huge game on Sunday. Obviously,
yes,
going to New York as well, and
seeking some revenge, much like they are tonight, looking for some revenge. A loss to Rochester earlier this year, and a loss, of course, at home, 2-1, a match that they were winning, and New York scored 2 goals late to win back on July 20th.
Having that extra game in hand as well was, that could be a big win if they can get that.
Absolutely. 2 games in hand at the 2nd seed right now in Louisville City, and you're 5 points behind. A win tonight, you're suddenly 2 points behind with still an extra game in hand.
Yeah.
Kenny Walker takes it away in the midfield and then looks for Omar Cummings. Rochester wins it back. Ball will tap it forward, then get it right back and sends it into no man's land, where Pat McMahon will come up and give it over to McLaughlin. Fall right now playing on his first American contract. Has soccer in his bloodline, though. His cousin has a little bit of experience, Jermaine Jones. Of course, one of the standouts for the U.S. men's national team. Nicholson out wide for Delbridge.
It's definitely better, possession here, showing that patience that we talked about. It's tough to chase, obviously, when you don't have the ball, so.
It certainly feels as though the pace tonight has been a little bit slower.
It has. I think that's been dictated really by how Rochester set up, which is all part of the tactical game.
Corbin Bone with a great ball to Wiedemann. On to Omar Cummings. He collides with Gomez. It is cleared off the line. Cummings is grabbing his right knee and in a load of pain. Rochester will clear it out along the touchline. Cummings is grabbing his right knee, and he very awkwardly collided with Tomas Gomez as a brilliant ball ended right on his foot.
Yeah,
from
he's in a
Andrew
serious amount
Wiedemann.
of pain here.
Take a look at the replay.
Yeah, this ball comes in. Great little flick by Wiedemann. Almost gets his touch.
Cummings whiffed on it, and then his knee collides, and it almost looked like it may have hyperextended.
Yeah, I think they go knee to knee here. Honestly, it's kind of unfortunate. Oh, yeah, that's a tough one.
And it may honestly have been the plant as it came back down as well.
Pressure,
either way, Omar Cummings immediately knew that he was in a bad way, grabbing his right knee. So certainly good wishes right now for the University of Cincinnati product, who's getting attention from Aaron Powell. But I would say that it appears unlikely at this point he will be able to return. He has yet to get a signal from Powell. You saw when Kenny Walker went down, and not a similar injury, but he had turf toe. He went down. Aaron Powell immediately signaled to John Harkes, you're going to have to make a change. I would say that right now, the good sign is that Powell hasn't looked up.
Yeah, he's going to check
Harkes yet.
Stability, really.
Right.
Hopefully it's just a knock. If it's a knock, it's bone to bone. It's not a big deal, but anytime that you look at where there's pressure or kind of a weird angle involved, it could be worse.
I think Harkes is asking why there was not a card called on Tomas Gomez there. We saw the replay twice. I don't think that there was anything to warrant a foul or a booking there for Tomas Gomez. And really, Cummings missed on that ball.
Yeah.
And when he planted afterwards, that may have been where he was injured more than taking a knock against Gomez. So FC Cincinnati hasn't yet sent a sub to midfield. I think Cummings is going to do everything he can to try to stay in the game, and it'll be a Herculean effort if he does, with the amount of pain he was in immediately. But so far, FC Cincinnati, at least right now, will play a man down as Aaron Powell continues to attend to Omar Cummings. So FC Cincinnati will have a throw in. They'll give it right back to Rochester. We are in the 40th minute, 1-0 in favor of the home club. And you see Cummings over there. The fact that he's standing up.
Yeah, no,
and at this point, From where it looked immediately,
right,
it looked very serious, and the way that he was pounding the turf with his hand.
Yeah. As I said, I hope it's just a knock. You know, if it's a knock, then he might be able to get through this here in the next few minutes. So we'll be able to tell here pretty quickly.
Aaron Powell does have a radio, and he is in communication with the bench to be able to tell them where he thinks Cummings currently is at. For the moment, FC Cincinnati will play a man down. Harrison Delbridge will send it out along the end line, and that'll give a goal kick, which would have been the situation originally for Rochester. They're going to try to work quickly now, obviously playing a man up.
Yeah.
See if they can't take advantage. Cummings working back towards midfield. That's where he'd have to check back in from. Angelo Colosimo, the team position, will await him. And now I just saw Aaron Powell make the signal to John Harkes. Omar's Cummings day has come to an end. So there will be a substitution coming momentarily for FC Cincinnati. An interesting decision here for Harkes. Let's first watch this run by Rochester. Into the box. A shot, and we have a tie game. Steven Dos Santos, the forward from Cape Verde, drills it into the back of the net, and we're tied at 1 apiece.
Tough.
So Rochester takes advantage, a man up, and puts it to the right of Mitch Hildebrandt. Santos' 6th goal of the season.
Anytime you're in that, a position kind of numbers down, it's always important to kind of get your shape back early as possible. Try not to press and drop in. For the most part, I actually thought, the recovery was good. Then it's just picking up. As soon as you get into the box, you've got a man mark. You got to pick up that player and be responsible and accountable for it. They may change their shape here a little bit with Eric Stevenson coming in.
So Stevenson is the answer. I was trying to get to the conversation is who comes in that situation. Luke Spencer isn't in the 18 today. Of course, Sean Okoli is not dressed. He'll be our halftime guest, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But Okoli is not dressed as he sits out with a 1-game suspension. So John Harkes will go to Eric Stevenson. I would imagine it certainly changes the shape a bit. Now in a tie game at 1 apiece. Would imagine there will be 4 or 5 minutes of stoppage time coming up between the injury to Omar Cummings, a couple of goals. We've had a yellow card because let Tyler Pollock go down.
Yeah, I'm just looking at their kind of shape here a little bit. I think Wiedemann's going to play their target. He's played forward before as well, so he can certainly play that position. I wouldn't think it's his most natural position. He's not going to be that comfortable playing kind of back to goal.
He was with FC Dallas. He was used in that role of being up top as the striker. Of course, he has 5 goals on the season. So now FC Cincinnati without Omar Cummings.
I may have to play almost with like a false 9. They've not got that kind of central target player.
Corner kick coming for Rochester in the meantime. The corner kick is brought to you by the Levy Law Offices, where they turn your crash into cash. Contact them today at 513-651-CASH. Corner kick into the box, deflects off of Mitch Hildebrandt. Corbin Bone unable to pick it up, turned, and the shot goes wide as Rochester can't work with it. It was Vasilis Apostolopoulos. Been waiting for that one, right?
Bingo. Boom.
Did I nail it?
You hit it.
All right. See if anybody in Greece agrees.
Yeah. You might get it on Twitter later, but
shot goes a little bit wide. Mitch Hildebrandt will get the goal kick. We will note that Omar Cummings was immediately taken back to the locker room by team physician Angelo Colosimo. So doubt we'll have much of an update tonight, but certainly best wishes for the Big Cat.
Yeah.
And hopefully it is nothing serious. He was able to walk off under his own power. Ball knocked out along the far touchline. Throw-in coming for Rochester in the 44th minute. So 1 minute of regulation, probably about 5 minutes of stoppage time coming. Just got official word. It'll be 4 minutes of stoppage time. So right about there, Austin Berry, who has the goal for FC Cincinnati, controlling in the midfield. Turns with his right foot, sends it across the pitch. Tyler Pollock puts his head onto it. Ends up in the box. picked up by Farrell. Joe Farrell will turn and send it back into the midfield where Delbridge heads it forward. Pollock, who had the assist, can't control it. Rochester back in the midfield.
FC Cincinnati have to see out this half, you know, especially with that change. You know, formation's kind of not as set. They've got to get back and make sure they deal with this pressure.
Dangerous ball from Fuo. Now it comes over to the right. Forbes with a shot that goes just wide. A great pass from Gilaboji. And then it was turned on by Canardo Forbes, the midfielder from Jamaica, who put it into the side of the net. Goal kick coming up as we are now into 4 minutes of stoppage time. Angelo Colosimo already out of the locker room. I have no way to begin to interpret if that's good news or bad news that he didn't stay in there very long with Omar Cummings. Mitch Hildebrandt's goal kick comes out to midfield. Pat McMahon unable to win the header. Now actually they'll say it went off of Rochester, so McMahon will throw it back into play. Nope, the linesman's going to change the call and give it to Rochester. Quite a bit of confusion down there right in front of us on the near sideline. Fio, the defender out of Paris, France, to bring it back into play. Dos Santos, who tallied the equalizer for Rochester, heads it directly straight up into the air. While Fall was there, he was tied up with Jimmy McLaughlin. McLaughlin is called for the foul.
Yeah, Fall does well actually using his body. I think on 2 occasions the ball bounced and was able to kind of separate himself from the defender.
.6'3" defender from Greece will set to put it back into play for Rochester. Sends it to the box. Belogi was getting there, but Mitch Hildebrand able to leap and collect. Quickly forward for Kenny Walker. Can FC Cincinnati work in stoppage time in transition? Walker forward to McLaughlin. Rochester wins it back. Turgu. Out wide for Fuo. Now Forbes into the midfield. Walker picks it back up. About halfway through stoppage time. Walker unable to find the ball he was looking for.
I think Wiedemann, yeah, kind of sees that run. There's a massive kind of hole open. Kenny's just unable to deliver it.
Wallfall turns it around onto Farrell. Fall out across midfield. Delbridge will get the header. Then knocked down along the touchline far side. Throw in coming for FC Cincinnati. About 30 seconds remaining in stoppage time, give or take, depending on when Leland Grant blows his whistle. So a little bit slower of a pace here in the first half tonight.
Yes, it has been for sure.
FC Cincinnati took the lead in the 28th minute with Austin Berry. And then Steven Dos Santos, or Duba, as they affectionately call him, finds the equalizer.
John's probably going to have to change his game plan a little bit. You know, this kind of plan of going and pressing and attacking, it's going to be different when, for me at least, I think Rochester have been in control at times in transition. So he's going to look at him, I'm sure, with Big Cat coming out. He's going to see if he can maybe put a target in or maybe go back to a 4-3-3. Because they've got to be able to deal with that counter from Rochester.
Well, if one thing John Harkes has done well this year is go into the locker room at halftime.
Make adjustments, yeah.
Make adjustments, tweak the lineup, or tweak the formation. And we've seen many matches where that has paid off over the final 45 minutes. We'll see what happens here tonight. The whistle has to be coming any moment. Ball comes out on the touchline. And now Leland Grant says that is enough for the first 45 minutes. Stevenson is the only sub thus far. He came in off the bench to replace Omar Cummings, who was hurt in the 41st minute. Went back to the locker room. I did not see if he came out of the locker room to join his teammates on the bench. And FC Cincinnati will control to start the second half, and a long ball intended for Jimmy McLaughlin bounces out along the touchline. A little correction from the first half. I said that FC Cincinnati would clinch a playoff spot with a win and a draw or loss by Harrisburg. What I meant was Wilmington. Harrisburg and Wilmington actually both have 25 points right now in the Eastern Conference. Harrisburg cannot catch FC Cincinnati. Wilmington still could if they won out, and FC Cincinnati lost all of their matches. Doesn't seem really likely, but that's the scenario right now. So a loss or a draw for Wilmington plus a win for FC Cincinnati would mean that FC Cincinnati clinches tonight. Well, half of that's going pretty well so far, as Pittsburgh is up 3-0 on Wilmington in Pittsburgh right now. Here in the Queen City, FC Cincinnati needs another goal or two to retake the lead against the Rhinos.
I think just looking at the shape earlier, I think he stayed in a 3-5-2 actually, so we'll see how this kind of plays out, you know, the first stages of the game.
And tactically, you can change what you're doing in the 3-5-2 as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's all about tasks of your players too, giving them specific kind of roles and responsibilities within it, defensively and obviously in attack.
Into the box, Velosky got it on his foot, quickly coming over to clear it was FC Cincinnati, but picked up on the touchline.
Good tackle
by Gilovaji. And then he is slow to his feet. Michael Gilavogi, the midfielder out of Guinea. Down right along the 18-yard box near the end line. Corner kick coming up for Rochester. This corner kick is brought to you by the Levy Law Offices, where they turn your crash into cash. Forbes takes it into the box. Goes over all of the Rhinos, then skips out to Turgu. And he'll have to turn it back. Sent back into the 18. Delbridge gets his head on it. Forward for Stevenson. Tried to turn it forward at midfield. Unable to. Got tied up there with Fall. And then Stevenson will push it out off the foot of Ryan James. Corbin Bone with a back heel from Stevenson. Then he was trying to feed it to Wiedemann and couldn't connect.
Good tackle as well. Yeah. Stevenson's made a good impact since he's come on.
Tyler Pollock picking it up in the midfield. Stevenson has seen his role change throughout the year.
Yeah, he's
coming off the bench to being in the starting 11 to being back off the bench. He's done a good job wherever John Harkes has asked him to be.
Yeah, he's certainly been professional as an approach to it. I think the biggest thing for him to, you know, is taking this opportunity. You know, we talked about it earlier. It happens in sport all the time, right? When a player gets hurt, and
right,
he's going to want to get back into the side some way. So, be interesting to see how this performance plays out in the second half. But so far, I think he's started pretty brightly.
Mitch Hildebrand waiting for everybody to push forward. Now sends it out towards the offensive third, headed away by Rochester. McMahon collects. Stevenson unable to get it to Wiedemann. Kenny Walker knocked down in the midfield. A lot of contact, no whistle. Ealing Grant lets him play. Rochester able to regain possession right up the middle of the pitch. It was intended for Valesky. Couldn't quite get it on his foot, and it skipped into the hands of Mitch Hildebrand. 50th minute on a human night here at Nippert Stadium. FC Cincinnati and Rochester tied at 1 apiece in the second meeting this season between these two clubs.
Seems like just one change that I've kind of noticed. The middle three have kind of rotated a little bit. Kenny Walker's back into that kind of more defensive position, and Corbin Bone now is kind of up in a higher position along with Eric Stevenson. So they're probably looking for Corbin to penetrate a lot more, kind of get in that gap that was kind of tough to break down in the first half, and try to create some more chances.
Tyler Pollock was limping a little bit after throwing that ball in at midfield, so something to keep an eye on. Remember, he went down grabbing his right thigh earlier in the match following the goal by Austin Berry that he assisted on. All turned away from the box. It'll be thrown in again by Pat McMahon. Far touchline inside the offensive third. Put it onto the foot of Kenny Walker. He sent it out of the box, but nobody was there. Into the midfield, Nicholson. Well defended by Rochester. Fall gets his head on it. Back out into the midfield where McMahon will collect. Keep up to date with the USL all season long by visiting uslsoccer.com for everything you need to know about the USL.
Good touch there from Harrison Delbridge.
Delbridge making a run. He'll draw a foul. Wall Fall was there. Leland Grant not happy with his reaction. I think Wall Fall is going to be booked more so for his reaction following for the descent.
Possibly, yeah.
Than the foul. I didn't think the foul was very severe.
And I think Harrison definitely had a full steam ahead approach there.
No doubt.
He got in a gallop, and it was kind of tough for Fall to kind of stop him in his tracks at least. Yeah, that's obstruction.
Yeah. But is it a yellow card, or did he get it for his descent after the fact?
Probably for his descent.
Yeah. Sometimes all you got to do is say the magic word, and you'll see that yellow card come out of the pocket. Second yellow card of the evening. Saw Forbes pick one up in the 22nd minute. So 2 Rhinos now playing on the yellow. For Fall, it is his 7th yellow card of the year. He leads the team in that category. Not one you want to lead the club in. Corbin Bone on the restart. Tyler Pollock was left for Wiedemann, and Rochester read it pretty well. McLaughlin swings it into the box. Harrison Delbridge was trying to get his head onto it and couldn't quite reach it. Gomez came across to grab it out of the air. For Fall, his 7th yellow card now, so his next one, he's suspended again. He's already served a 1-game suspension this year for collecting 5. He'll serve another at 8.
Yeah. At times, too. I mean, a guy like that, he's going to be very physical. He's probably the team's enforcer, too, so there's times I'm sure he sacrifices some of those yellow cards. But as soon as you start getting into that kind of double suspension, that's then obviously going to hurt the team.
Right. Especially down the home stretch. Now, for those wondering at home, we've already seen Harrison Delbridge serve the suspension. Sean Okoli is serving it tonight. Pat McMahon is 1 away. His next booking will result in a 1-game suspension. When you get to the postseason, the yellow cards reset.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about carrying over the potential of an accumulation suspension into the postseason. Kenny Walker on to his right. Corbin Bone. Bone unable to advance. Good defense from Rochester. Here's Fall. Need some contact with Bone, but able to make the pass forward. Now Kenny Walker comes down in the midfield. Feels a little bit more chippier.
I think one thing
here in the first few minutes of the second half.
Just kind of that last challenge from Fall. You know, if I'm one of the 3 center midfielders for FC Cincinnati, I'm running at him all day. You know, knowing that he's on a yellow card, I don't say he's a little clumsy, but he's certainly physical. And make him commit. You know, I mean, that's definitely a thought that's probably in either Kenny Walker or Corbin Bone's mind.
Rochester sends it in, skips wide of Mitch. Goal kick coming up as we go down to the pitch and check in with Lindsay Patterson.
Guys, while FC Cincinnati was away, another club took advantage of this soccer field here at Nippert Field. Bearcats NKU women's teams faced off in front of a record crowd of 4,722, most for any women's college soccer game. So something about this field here at Nippert.
No doubt about it. A great crowd on Monday night as Neil Stafford's club has won their first 2 matches to start the season. Win against Dayton on Friday night, and then a win here against NKU on Monday evening. Tyler Pollock will tap it out to Jimmy McLaughlin. As soon as this match is over, they'll actually turn it back over to American football. High school football will be here over the weekend as they get their season started here in Ohio, and then you'll have the Bearcats finally back in Nippert Stadium after a summer of world football. Jimmy McLaughlin will be booked at midfield. For McLaughlin, that is his first booking of the season. So a little bit of emotion since coming out of the locker room for both of these clubs.
Obviously a lot to play for in the, this playoff run.
Absolutely.
I think probably a little bit of frustration too from FC Cincinnati. Things haven't really gone the way they probably planned in the first half, so they're coming out and trying to change the script a little bit.
I told you about the log jam in the Eastern Conference right now. As a corner kick coming up for Rochester. FC Cincinnati's the 3 seed. This would be a playoff matchup if this was the playoffs tonight, the 3 versus the 6. But Rochester has 39 points, FC Cincinnati 42. So a win for the Rhinos here on the road tonight. Suddenly they're tied for 3rd place with FC Cincinnati and have the tiebreaker because they beat them twice this season.
Yeah.
So certainly a playoff-like battle here in the Queen City tonight. Corner kick coming. It is brought to you by the Levy Law Offices. And a big tie-up in the box as one of the Rochester players went down. Kenny Walker is involved. It appears, was it Vasilis, the defender out of Greece? He's down grabbing his face. I'm not sure that Leland Grant was looking in the direction. He's going to come over to consult with his linesman and see if there needs to be a booking. And it is Vasilis who was down grabbing his face. There. Kenny Walker. It was hard to tell over on the right side.
Kind of caught out late.
What he did, it looked as though he was swinging his arm and pushing him. And then Vasilis went down, certainly, to try to sell a booking. Vasilis is still grabbing his left eye. You can see them in the middle, tied up. Vasilis continually walking in front of Kenny Walker. And it looked like Vasilis first throws a little bit of an elbow.
I think he does.
And then Kenny Walker swings his arm back to get him out of the way. In the meantime, a header and a save. Mitch says no.
Good reaction. It's a tough one too for our goalkeeper as his ball comes across. He's obviously following the angle of it, and he's got to readjust his feet again to kind of push over. So good job on that.
So Hildebrand, a big save, knocking it over the crossbar, but another corner kick brought to you by the Levy Law Offices. Forbes into the box, knocked away, but it comes out high, and the shot sails up over the goal as Gilavogi didn't get a good look. So a couple of tense moments for FC Cincinnati fans as Mitch makes the save, and then a shot from 20 yards away. And the midfielder out again, he couldn't put it on frame. Say a good job there too by Leland Grant, who goes over, talks to his linesman to see what he saw, and he comes back and basically told the both of them that's enough.
Yeah.
That there will be bookings if this continues.
Right. A lot of times, Dave, when you're in the box on a set piece, you're tossing in for a position, really trying to get that extra yard. So
already 2 yellow cards since coming out of the locker room. Jimmy McLaughlin trying to get back to the offensive third for FC Cincinnati. Pollock turns it back to Delbridge. Harrison with his right foot sends it towards the far corner. Too strong for Pat McMahon. Let's go down to the pitch where our sideline reports are brought to you by Volkswagen and check in with Lindsey Patterson.
Guys, a couple saves from Mitch Hildebrand. I also saw Jamie Starr run over to him and give him some new gloves. So he's changing out his gloves right now. We'll see if that makes any help or any changes for him.
Good observation from down on the field. Great stuff, Lindsey. So a changing gloves for Mitch Hildebrand in the 59th minute. Austin Berry gets his head on it. Corbin Bone then is tripped up, and a foul will be called on Rochester. I would imagine that there had to have been a rip or something for him to make that change. I mean, they get sweaty as the game goes along.
Right. A lot of times, I mean, it's like shoes too. You know, you're going to want the pair that you feel comfortable with. At times they expire, right? You know, obviously the amount of leaking grip or they've ripped or whatever. So, but typically, you know, they're going to stay with the same brand and the same type of glove, I would imagine.
So Mitch Hildebrand has a new pair. John Harkes hoping for a second half goal to put his lads back on top. They're tied at 1 apiece. It's Austin Berry in the 28th minute, then Dos Santos in the 42nd minute. With the equalizer for Rochester, Omar Cummings went out injured in the 41st minute. That certainly has changed the tactics for FC Cincinnati a little bit without Sean Coley available today. Wiedemann picking it up. Right up the middle of the field. Wiedemann with a host of yellow jerseys takes a shot. It's deflected. Able to maintain possession. Over to Corbin Bone. Bone sends it to his right. Kenny Walker into the box. Jimmy McLaughlin will try to track it down. He cannot. And FC Cincinnati certainly had some good looks, and you saw Kenny Walker waving across the pitch. He knows he missed Jimmy McLaughlin, who had some space to work with.
Yeah, I think he's just a little disappointed, which is not like Kenny. You know, obviously he's very technical. I think from where we see it as well, he probably had space to maybe beat that defender. He gave a little bit extra time to get some more targets in the box.
Tomas Gomez sends it out into the midfield, right under the head of Delbridge. Delbridge able to knock it down, but right to Rochester. Onto the right, Forbes, looking to take a shot with his left foot. Instead, the Jamaican will send it out wide. Fuo into the box. Dos Santos there to head it. Ends up into the paws of Mitch Hildebrand. FC Cincinnati Soccer is brought to you in part by TyTech Medical. Compact pre-hospital medical supplies for trauma care. For more information, visit tytechmedical.com.
I think Rochester changed their shape a little bit more too as well. See Dos Santos kind of staying very, very high, you know, up with their number 9 as almost a 2-forward partnership. So that's going to certainly put pressure on the back 3.
Foul called just across midfield as Pat McMahon was taken down by his old club. Kenny Walker will send it back into play. Looking for McLaughlin, doesn't get there. Chilavoji collected, and Rochester's going to work it back into the midfield. Kenny Walker collided with his former college teammate Austin Berry. He's slow to his feet. Far side, it's Turgu. Turgu tried to get it back on the give and go, could not connect. Walker still collecting himself, appears to be okay. Hildebrand will get a goal kick here in the 63rd minute, and obviously your substitution game plan may have changed a little bit for John Harkes with the injury to Omar Cummings in the first half as the long ball is intercepted by Rochester. But what do you think? Andrew Wiedemann shoved down from behind, easy calling a foul. We'll get back to that thought here in a moment because FC Cincinnati is going to have a fairly dangerous free kick coming.
I think, yeah, that's definitely a foul. Sorry.
Basilis.
I think you were just going to ask me what needs to change.
What the next move is for FC Cincinnati.
Here's the biggest thing: when you play with 3 at the back too, you're not pushing those fullbacks on. You've got 2 wide kind of wingers, if you want to call them that, but there's not a lot of opportunity to overlap outside, right? There's more channel runs from the 2 forwards. So for me at least, it's trying to create 2v1s on the outside on the channel. So that's going to take kind of a difference or a shift in shape. But really, they've not had that opportunity to do that.
Bone out wide to Polak. With a left foot, he'll swing it into the box. Delbridge gets his head onto it, but Tomas Gomez gets there before Andrew Wiedemann could tap it away. Well read by Rochester's goalkeeper. Keeps it at 1 apiece. Now in the 64th minute. Fall. Will send it to the far side of the pitch. A key Eastern Conference matchup here in the USL tonight. Fall at midfield. Wiedemann unable to take it away. Valesky left it. Rochester will set up in the offensive third. Ryan James swings it in with his right foot. Nicholson intercepts with his head. Gilavogi battling with Tyler Polak, and it bounces off to Stevenson.
Great touch again by Wiedemann. We talked about that. I mean, he's looked very natural actually since that change, playing back to goal. I thought that would be a challenge for him, but I think it's evident. We talked about at halftime that he had played that in college and his former team as well. But
appears as though Bob Lilly is getting ready to go to his bench. Michael Garzi, a midfielder out of Connecticut, setting to check in. Have yet to see Rochester make a change. They get a free kick. Turgu. has it deflected away. And then a big shot from the defensive line goes wide as Joe Farrell stepped up to put his foot into it. Remember, this is the first of 3 matches in 8 days for John Harkes and FC Cincinnati, and all of them are against teams that right now would be in the Eastern Conference playoffs if the playoffs started today. Rochester, as I've mentioned, the 6th seed. Then you look at Red Bulls 2, who's of course in first place. They already won today 1-0, so they continue to move closer to locking up the Eastern Conference top seed in home field likely throughout the entire playoffs, if they were able to make the championship game. And then Charlotte, a match that was supposed to be back in May in Charlotte. The field conditions were not conducive to playing a match, so that was scheduled for later in the year and just cluttered the back end of the schedule for John Harkes' team that much more.
The key in this, honestly, is getting maximum points at home. You
Absolutely.
know? I mean, it's fine, and I'm sure they're not overlooking, but they're not thinking about this weekend. Hopefully not, or those other away games. They've got to get 3 points here tonight. You know, that's going to be important. If you win your home games and you can kind of get a point out of your away games, then
everything
you're in a good
else
position.
falls into place.
Exactly.
Absolutely. On FC Cincinnati after tonight, just 2 home matches remaining. September 5th, which is Labor Day at 4:30, and then September 17th at 7 p.m. the regular season finale. Kenny Walker trying to push it towards the offensive third. Corbin Bone in the midfield. 67th minute. Out wide for Pollock. Pollock into the box. Rochester clears it away. And the answer to the question, what's the next move for John Harkes? Antoine Hopeno has come out to midfield where he will set to check into the next opportunity. Paul Nicholson is cut down in front of the Rochester bench, much to the chagrin of Bob Lilly. And no play on the ball there by Dos Santos.
Okay. I was thinking what change he was going to make. It's kind of a straight switch, center mid for center mid. But
it'll be Antoine Hopeno forward coming in.
So they're going to go back to forward to back, what I talked about. So you can see here Austin Barry and Harrison Delbridge are going to go to center back. Yep. Paul Nicholson's going to step into center midfield with Corbin Bone. Pat McMahon on the right and then Tyler on the left. So they're going to get more balance in it. As I said, hopefully they can try to create more 2v1s and overlap positions from the fullbacks from this.
Hopeno is 13th appearance on the season, the 5'8" forward out of Paris, France. Foul is called on Eric Stevenson, and possession back to Rochester.
I think having Paul back in there in midfield as well will kind of impact, distribution from that middle third into that attacking third.
Tomas Gomez sets to bring it back into play. McMahon will flick it in the direction of Hopeno, unable to connect. Turgu trying to work back towards the offensive third. He's taken down right along the touch line. Foul will be called on Hopeno.
The other benefit as well of going 4-back, obviously defensively, they're going to be a lot more solid, so at least protecting a point. Might be in the back of John's mind a little bit.
McMahon commits the foul. And Rochester will look to see if they can get something going on the restart. Bob Lilly directing traffic as to where he wants everybody.
Yeah. Dos Santos has been a handful tonight. Apart from the goal as well, he's kind of been involved a lot.
It's interesting. We haven't said Christian Valesky's name very much. Leads the team in scoring with 8 goals. He hasn't had many looks. Cross is intercepted by Tyler Polak.
Brought into the game by Wiedemann.
Pat McMahon gets it into the midfield. Wiedemann trying to work up the right side. And a physical play by Wall Fall gets Wiedemann to touch it last. Throw in for Rochester. Nicholson at midfield. Turn back to wall fall. And now Rochester a little bit methodical in the midfield as they turn and try to push forward. Stevenson unable to win at midfield. Turgu into the offensive third. A great ball for Fuo and off the foot of Austin Berry wide of the goal. But a good ball to get into Fuo, and then Berry, great defensive move.
Good defensive coverage as well. He reads it really well, steps into that space in front and makes sure that he's defending the front post.
Turgu will go over to take the corner kick. It is brought to you by the Levy Law Offices, where they turn your crash into cash. And now Turgu will step away. We've seen a couple of short corners. Bernardo Forbes will set to take it in the 72nd minute of a 1-1 match here at Nipper. Sent into the box. Knocked away by Wiedemann, but just to the top of the 18. Then Berry comes over and deflects it. Rochester on the second opportunity. Garza can't do anything with it. Goal kick coming up for Mitch Hildebrand. Tom Glarder, Kevin McCloskey, Lindsey Patterson, certainly happy to be with you here tonight. Kyle Evans, our stage manager up here in the booth. Congratulations to him, a college graduate.
Boom.
Since the last time we saw him. Finished up all his classes with passing grades. Who would have thunk it?
I know.
He does a fantastic job up here, so we appreciate his help. Garza working it in the midfield. Both teams looking for a go-ahead goal in a crucial Eastern Conference matchup. Austin Berry in the midfield. Berry had the goal in the first half for FC Cincinnati, his third this season at Nippert Stadium, and he's unable to keep it in along the touchline. He lost track of where it was.
Yeah, I think he's looking up more so from where the support's coming to help him. You know, as he breaks, he's kind of in a 2-against-6 position, so he's looking for his teammates to get up and support the attack. Just lost track of it a little bit.
Rochester keeping the possession as they have much of this game. Ryan James on the right side. Send it out across the midfield. Corbin Bone to Paul Nicholson. Over to the left, Tyler Pollock. Delbridge will send it out onto his right. Austin Berry pushing it forward, sends it across the pitch. Off the chest of Jimmy McLaughlin.
Jimmy's been pretty quiet tonight as well, actually. You know? I think some of that in the first half, as I said, that kind of unnatural starting position for him playing inside. He's a guy that wants to get it wide and have a lot of space.
McMahon taps it forward for Stevenson towards the corner. The University of Akron product working towards the 18. Good defense from Rochester as they turn it away. Austin Berry wins a header and a foul is called. Rochester can't believe it. FC Cincinnati will be able to put it back into play. Into the midfield, Delbridge. Over to the left, McLaughlin. And now Pollock has it knocked away. It rolls out. We mentioned earlier Omar Cummings was hurt on a play that there was a collision in the box. Certainly John Hark from his angle thought it should have been a penalty kick. We thought on replay maybe not so much, and tough to tell from the field and in live play. We were able to see it a few times. But if this match was being played at Red Bull Arena, where FC Cincinnati will play on Sunday, they are now using video assisted replay for about 8 matches, only in New York. For the team who's in first place in the East. A little bit of an odd situation because it's only in one stadium in the USL. It's certainly a trial run, both for the USL and for Major League Soccer. But where do you stand on video replay making its way into the sport that you grew up with?
I mean, I think the first challenge that I have with it. I think maybe having it consistently throughout the league, but obviously it's easier said than done. I think, you know, the more and more in these big games, there's a lot on the line. I do think it's going to become part of the game just because of human error with the referees. It is tough at times. And if you look back in World Cup, Champions League, you know, Premiership games, a lot of these bigger games where coaches and managers really have had a hard time with accepting some of the decisions of the referees. I think it just kind of protects it. My own kind of, it's tough because I'm a traditionalist a little bit, and I think that's part of it too, you know, when you get good calls or bad calls, but I think it's inevitable. I think it's going to happen.
Question. That play certainly one of the ones that would have qualified for review under the system that they're currently using in New York, that FC Cincinnati. We'll see. And it shouldn't be an advantage of either team, either way. I mean, it should benefit both teams equally,
sure,
even though it's only in one stadium. The attendance tonight, 14,197. 14,157. Remember all those nice things I just said about Kyle?
Yeah, forget about
fired.
it.
14,000 plus. Put it there. FC Cincinnati looking to push it across midfield in the 77th minute. McLaughlin into the middle, right under the foot of Wiedemann. Tried to turn it to himself into the 18, and Rochester broke it up. Garzi taps it backwards. McLaughlin disrupts. And Nicholson trying to play it forward, couldn't get it to Wiedemann. Derek Luke has come out to midfield. He'll check in at the next opportunity.
Interesting to see how these last 13 minutes, you know, if the pace can get ramped up, really for either team.
Certainly felt like there was more energy coming out of the locker room at halftime. Saw a few yellow cards. Fall picked up one. McLaughlin a little pushing and shoving in the box with Kenny Walker involved. Hildebrand was set to put it back into play. FC Cincinnati going to need some late match magic here at home. Try and lock up 3 points. Hildebrand forward for Wiedemann. Like he was a little bit tangled up, but Bailey wanted a call, and his header wasn't able to go anywhere. John Harkes is pleading the same case, that Wiedemann was restricted as the ball came in onto his head. Antoine Hopino trying to catch up with it. Throw in coming for FC Cincinnati right in front of their own bench. Here comes the substitution. Derek Luke in. And Tyler Pollock will take a seat. Substitution is brought to you by the Levy Law Offices, where they turn your crash into cash. Contact them online at levylawoffices.com. Pat McMahon with some space on the right side.
Nice.
Blows past Turgu. Sends it across. He's trying to get it to Wiedemann. Didn't quite reach him. Delbridge in the midfield. Back to Stevenson.
Pace is picked up here a little bit.
A bit of sense of urgency with just over 10 minutes left in regulation. Of course, some stoppage time will be tacked on as well. Garzi sends it into the middle where it's picked up by Forbes. Rochester back into the offensive third. Fuo into the middle. Pat McMahon had it. Ended up back on his feet off the deflection from Barry. Somehow stayed in along the end line. And then a goal kick coming after Rochester can't hold on to it.
He might actually call the foul on that.
I think he did.
Yeah.
He was pointing to a spot, so
he's going to take it as a goal kick at least.
Mitch Hildebrand will
tee it up to his best benefit. Really not much of a difference, maybe a yard or two. And on this type of free kick, it doesn't make a huge tactical difference, I can't imagine. Hildebrand will bring it out to midfield. He's looking for McLaughlin, who was knocked down. Derek Luke then goes to the turf as Dos Santos took it away. Then Eric Stevenson got a piece of Dos Santos, who appears to be in a heap of pain. Stevenson's called for the foul. And Dos Santos may have been trying to encourage a booking there on Stevenson, who I think is going to end up in the book.
That might have been his plan. It didn't look like it was a lot, but.
Here's the first foul.
Which is a
or
foul.
Not. I mean, he's not making a play on the ball.
Yeah.
Stevenson.
No, it's an obvious foul. Right. I just don't know if it warrants the theatrics afterwards.
And now the match official Leland Grant is calling for Dos Santos to come out of the match.
Yeah.
Stevenson picks up the yellow card in the 81st minute.
That is his second of the season.
Eat away the clock here a little bit.
Actually, it's Walt Fall who has come out on the substitution. And Tony Walls, the midfielder out of Wisconsin, will check in.
Dos Santos is hoppling here. I'd be interested to see how he reacts to this next play.
Certainly in some pain. Austin Berry heads it directly up into the air. Corner kick coming up for Rochester, as they'll have an opportunity to try to take the lead for the first time tonight.
Yeah, he's still limping.
Right. So I apologize. Maybe not all.
You were wrong, Tommy. It wasn't me.
I will admit when I'm wrong. I may have indicated that I thought he was trying to secure the booking. He got the booking, so
he did.
Once you see the yellow card comes out, then you jump up and run down the pitch,
yeah,
right?
You gotta.
Suddenly you're okay. So certainly some pain there for Dos Santos, who tallied the equalizer for Rochester in the first half.
83rd minute. Here comes the corner kick. Sent into the box. Over Mitch Hildebrand. Bouncing on the line. McMahon clears it. Ping-ponging around, and the whistle comes from Leland Grant. And Pat McMahon comes up with a huge defensive play.
That could have very easily been a penalty if you watch this. I'm not sure when the free kick happened, before or after, but this ball played in here. I think Mitch just kind of loses it in the air, and then Pat knocks it from it. You'll see here as he kind of jumps on it.
Well, and I think the contact
I think it happened
came as Vasilos put his arm and knocked McMahon to the ground, and that is why the foul was called. So if that's the foul, then it's not a handball on Pat McMahon. So a scary moment for Mitch Hildebrand and FC Cincinnati in the box on the corner kick. It remains one apiece, now in the 84th minute. Luke, the late substitution for John Harks, knocks it forward to Bone. Bone trying to play it up the touchline. Comes off of Rochester, and the throw in for FC Cincinnati. Luke looking towards the corner where McLaughlin was, didn't get there. Then it bounces off of Stevenson and right to Rochester. However, they're not able to do anything with it, and a throw in coming for FC Cincinnati. Pat McMahon pushes it back to Paul Nicholson. He does a great job distributing from his defensive position. Has some space to work. And brings it forward. McLaughlin trying to get it into the box to Wiedemann. Great clearance by Rochester. Fuo came over to send it down. A throw in for FC Cincinnati in the offensive third.
Definitely a buzz from Jimmy these last 10-15 minutes. Trying to force the issue and trying to get involved with it.
Luke gives it to Bone. Right back to Luke. Sent into the box. Headed away by Rochester. Bone able to collect. And Jimmy McLaughlin is taken down. No whistle. Volosky trying to get to the ball in the midfield. It rolls out.
No foul. Tick for tack.
Starting to get heated.
Yeah.
Well, it's being heated. It's getting hotter.
Man back to Barry. Austin Barry tallied his 3rd goal of the season in the 28th minute to give FC Cincinnati the lead, but it lasted only 14 minutes.
Nice.
Antoine Hopino forward for Bone. Deflected away by Rochester. Picked back up by Stevenson. Now McMahon. Delbridge will send it to the left side. Derek Luke receives the pass. Then a dangerous ball in reverse for Valesky. Valesky then takes down Austin Barry and be called for a foul.
Bit of a hospital pass that. That's what we call it. So.
And it was Christian Valesky and Austin Barry and then Mitch Hildebrand. There was nobody else home on that ball.
I think Derek Luke maybe just needs to put a little bit more pace on that and not put Austin Barry in trouble.
Corbin Bone working up the middle of the pitch. Over to Nicholson and now Pat McMahon. Back to Bone, up to Wiedemann. Stevenson tried to give it right back, but it didn't get there. Elbridge is going to have pressure and has to head it back to Mitch Hildebrand. Does a nice job getting there. Appears as though John Harkes will make one more sub. Alvaro Anton Rapolo is put on his jersey. Wiedemann to the offensive third. Sends it into the box. Hopino was there, couldn't get it. Luke will collect. Right back into Jimmy McLaughlin.
Good numbers forward here.
Into the middle, Nicholson. Great ball to Wiedemann, and it's intercepted by Rochester. A corner kick coming up for FC Cincinnati. And here it comes, the USL debut for Alvaro Anton Rapol, the native of Madrid, Spain, in the 18 for the first time in a USL match, and they're going to wait till after the corner kick. The flag had gone up, but first we'll get the set piece. Can FC Cincinnati take the lead? The ball into the box. Stevenson collects just outside the 18. Looked like maybe a handball in the box, no call. Then a foul is going to be called on Harrison Delbridge just outside the 18.
Not sure about
Forbes would like to see a booking on Delbridge. That won't happen. So Rapol comes into the match in the 89th minute, maybe to give FC Cincinnati a spark.
Yeah.
And we'll have to take a look and see what the contact was in the box. That substitution, Jimmy McLaughlin out, Alvaro Anton Rapol in, is brought to you by the Levy Law Offices. Tomas Gomez will take the goal kick for Rochester. Turgu working out wide. Plays a nice ball to Fuo. Fuo into the box. Nicholson tracks it down and sends it out. Now a corner kick for Rochester in the 90th minute.
Yeah, it's a tough one too, as he's kind of driving the ball there. Any contact, you know, he could fall down, but I think Paul did a good job of kind of just shepherding him out over the line.
Tense moments for both teams here in the waning moments as we inch closer to full time. There will be 2 minutes of stoppage time tacked on. No goals here in the second half thus far.
Leaving 2 up top here again for a quick release.
Corner will come from the far side into the box. Nicholson breaks it up, and then it is cleared out into the midfield. It was Derek Luke who cleared it. Throwing will come for FC Cincinnati, deep in their defensive third. So we are into stoppage time with a minimum of 2 minutes tacked on. 1-1 FC Cincinnati and Rochester, and possibly a playoff preview. Berry trying to clear it. Rapole can't get his head onto it. Hopino will pick it up. Gives it to Stevenson, then gets it right back across midfield. Antoine Hopino trying to come across the pitch. It's deflected by Rochester. Dos Santos unable to turn it forward. Rapole going to try to track it down. Ball played out of the foot of Stevenson. Stevenson played it to Hopino, out to Rapole, deflected by Rochester. Rapole into the 18.
Nice little bit of skill there as well.
Stevenson just outside the box. Dos Santos takes it off his foot. Nicholson comes forward and picks it up. Then he's knocked down. No call. Rochester trying to turn it forward. A lot of contact. No whistles from Leland Grant. Now a throw in for FC Cincinnati in the offensive third. About halfway through the 2 minutes of stoppage time. Nicholson slow to get back up to his feet. Throw-in will come from the far side. Can FC Cincinnati get one more chance to take the lead? Pat McMahon sends it into the box. Wiedemann heads it off the crossbar. Rapole tries to get to it, but Gomez collects.
Almost got him. Almost caught the goalkeeper out.
Wiedemann had it off the crossbar in stoppage time, but unable to convert. And Leland Grant blows his whistle, a draw.